You're going to welcome me. What do you want me to say?
I want you to stop.
I'm messing with- All my answers are provided by Claude.
Oh, is Claude going to speak for you?
He already is.
He's speaking through you.
Yeah.
Well, welcome, Greg, to the Warriors and Roses podcast.
Thank you for having me, Michelle. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, you are a musician, a composer, writer, performer, teacher, and you've been doing this pretty much your entire life. You're also my partner and my guitar teacher.
Right.
So we talk like all the time, deeply about the constant fight artists, designers like myself, musicians have to engage in to stay in the creative life and on the creative path.
Mhm.
How would you describe the artist you are and the fighter you've had to become?
How would I describe the artist I am? That's an interesting question. I mean, just out of sheer, I don't think it's something that I'm thinking about. I think a lot of the way I operate is pretty intuitive and instinctual. That's a tough question to answer, but it's a tough question to
It's
answer.
a tough question to ask too.
Okay.
Yeah, like if
Yeah.
it does, it makes us think deeply about who we are and why we do what we do. So, why do you do what you do? What drew you to it and what keeps drawing you to it?
I guess I have to go back a little bit, but I think when I started to form bands in the early 90s, early mid 90s, I had a feeling like I was all in right away. But
Mhm.
I also, even before that, when I was first starting to learn instruments, I just felt connected in a way to it more than almost anything else. Art just became so important to me
Mm.
early on. But yeah, I could tell that I felt something deep with music. It's when I thought to myself like, oh, what, Greg, what are you gonna do? But then some voice came to me. It was like, oh, you have music. You should go. I just felt that come through. So yeah, it really connected to my identity. I felt really, really connected to it, from then. And as I've gone on, going back to the instinctual aspect, I feel like it just comes through, it's something that it's a calling. It's something that I'm compelled to do, and then as I've realized things over those years, it's a confirmation throughout people I've crossed paths with, collaborators, fans, or whoever I've been able to have a connection with through the music. But
How
the
I,
second part of the question, or go ahead.
I was going to ask you, how old were you when that voice came to you, or that realization, that knowing?
Yeah, I mean, that would have been probably between the age of 10 and 13,
That's
somewhere in there.
that's a strong voice to come through that clearly at that age.
Yeah.
Some people get that, and most of us don't.
Yeah, I felt fortunate in that way, but again, it is the music industry, which at the time I was not privy to.
Mm.
But I think this might be for a later question, but it's all about the connection to yourself and the expression foremost. it's, I don't know, damn the torpedoes,
Yeah,
full speed
right.
ahead, whatever, what have
That's
you.
how would you describe the artist you are and the fighter you've had to become? And that is really the fighter you've had to become in order to stay true to your calling as an artist. And this is a question that does throw people. So, because it's that idea of fighter, what does it mean? Am I, it's asking these questions of what fights have I had to do? It's the struggles. What does that
Yeah.
mean to you?
Yeah. I mean, it includes myself, of course.
Mm,
And it also includes, I mean, if you want to use the term fight, it's on all levels, It could be financially, it could be
yeah.
interpersonally. How would I describe the fighter that I've become? It is a hard question to answer, honestly, because I don't necessarily view it in that way. I think, I've had to fight to, you know, see the vision, to bring forth my talents and my craft, as well as deal with people in the world, society, and, you know, live, and so I guess I still am hesitant to come up with a way to describe that
Yeah. Yeah.
directly.
Maybe we'll come through it more through the conversation too. So,
Sure,
yeah.
sure. Yeah, I
Well,
think so.
when did you first realize that being an artist meant that you'd have to fight for it? Like, when did you know that there would be a struggle to be a
Yeah.
musician professionally as a career?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are varying waves of that. It probably came through relatively early. I think in some ways being in a band as a modus operandi, you're dealing with what everybody thinks it is or what they want to get out of it. And ultimately in a collaboration of that kind, it's summation,
Mm, hmm
a
hmm
way of everybody agreeing what you can get. So you may not get everything out of it that you want, maybe even at any time, but you fight for that. But
hmm hmm
so maybe the early fight would have been, I mean, that could have been interpersonally with the band,
hmm hmm
getting, where we want to and how that all intersects with everybody.
Yeah.
But that could also be, your own technical limitations, technique, talent, realization in the time that early on, and where you envision what you can do, but then you see what you can do and you develop.
Mm.
And then maybe as I'm talking about being a late teenager,
Right.
late teenager, then you move into early adulthood, and now
Yeah.
you're starting to experience perhaps more of the financial
hmm
fight, right?
hmm
That struggle, it's obviously easier to see it clearer when you've passed it, to say, oh,
Yeah.
I needed
Right.
to allot time. I needed to give myself space. But when it's happening, it's like, oh, this is totally in ruins. And
Mm.
how
hmm
am I going to let that flame is there, but it's dwindled down because I'm focused on these things
Yeah.
that are important that you have to have to, to eat or whatever, as the adage goes or whatever. But
Yeah, the
uh,
challenges you don't have when you're younger, when you're first starting, maybe are interpersonal and you don't have to worry so much about everybody feeding themselves. And then you move into that as an adult and you realize, oh, there's some realities here that are different.
right.
That
Yes.
shifts
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Correct. And so, you're trading it all off over time with
Yeah.
varying. I had gone to college and studied music, which is its own struggle as well, just like it is for everybody. But now I have things to process, information to process, to assimilate more of an identity as an
Mm.
artist, but some time to ruminate on things as I took a bit of a break from pursuing directly, the music career as an artist for
Mm.
about 5 years. And then it was like bursting out. So, I
Mm.
was able to get at it again after I had, yeah,
You
gotten,
you took a break, that break too, during, if I have my timing right, a key moment of transition in the music industry too, didn't you? Would you say? Because we're talking late 90s, right? Early 2000s.
yeah, I guess, yeah, yeah. I mean, in that sense of it, it's interesting. That goes back to what we were talking about a bit earlier, that probably just where I was as a musician,
Hmm.
I wasn't concerned with any of that. But that
Hmm.
just might be
Hmm.
where and which is to me is a great way to operate,
Yeah. Yeah.
since I didn't I'm it because to me I'm connected to that core aspect of it. I don't know if people do it differently, it's a different approach. I don't think about music like, oh, I want to really get all this business because like I gotta do this music so that I can really get this business thing going. It's
Yeah.
quite the opposite of that, or something else like, oh, I want all the riches, the fame, or whatever. But it's about the expression,
The
create,
music.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and everything else is just whatever's part of that. But it's really doing the duty to the art, you know.
Yeah. That's the sense I've always had from you, is that your connection to the music and the expression of what comes through you is such a strong driver that it overtakes all other things, meaning you're not going to give it up. It may not, it's not like you weren't going to, I'm not going to be a musician because I can't make money doing it, or I want to be famous, but if I'm not famous by this time I'm going to stop doing it. Like, that never felt like ever a question or option or idea in your head. It was just like, I'm going to do music, and this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm doing, no matter how I'm doing it, and I'm going to make that work. That's the sense I get from you.
Yeah, I would agree with that. For me, I think it stems from the craft of writing, which when I started in bands, I was really going at the songwriting,
Mm.
and as it just connected to me. It's just that expression, being able to create something with
Mm.
words, with the music, that it's just so vast. The depth of it, I think that is definitely what drew me once I discovered it in my education, you know, that scope, the lens I could see into that depth was so much greater. And like I was saying, at an early age, I was just all in. I think really when I was, I do remember getting done with college and feeling like, oh, great, what am I going to do with a composition degree? Because I didn't have those avenues lined up for myself, but I found my way. So
Why did you go after a composition degree in music?
what I envisioned a music education would be like to go at,
Mm.
to go after, was going to be just really academic, involving a lot of sight reading as an
Mm-mm.
instrumentalist. I think that was just the thing, that I had that limited view, having not gone to college
Mm.
for music.
Right.
And then once I had a teacher recommend I take a theory class, it started from that. And then I
Mm,
was talking to some of the professors, and that's when it dawned on me that I have to say too that whether I knew it then or whatever it is, I was teaching guitar and music pretty close to right when I started bands because I was working with some of my bandmates and I had students shortly after. And I just I can see that, and I've shared this with students that just from where how I'm built as a musician as is just such a mix of the intuition, instinct, and the educational side of it that it made me it's just a weird hodgepodge, I mean I
hmm
think that's
hmm
it might be what it always is anyway for anybody, but I or I but I could already play guitar. It's the realization of the writing, that
mm,
identity that just goes right in, or this whatever it is, this comes right out to connect with that
yeah,
musical sphere, that like saying like I can already play guitar
yeah.
rather proficiently. So I just because you can become an instrumental major in college.
Hmm.
And I didn't want
Director.
that. I didn't want to get loaded up with the material, for
Mm,
better or worse. Like I miss out, that's just life is a gamble anyway. It's always a risk. And you
yeah,
just go whatever path you
yeah,
choose and you just go down it.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. So, we have resistances and then we lessen them or we reinforce them. And there's a struggle, right? A fight
Hmm.
there with
Yeah.
yourself, with and your professors, whoever. And so I would have to say that through studying in college, taking that first theory class, I realized that when I had taken guitar lessons just privately, I mean, I knew this, but a lot of the theory stuff, concepts and everything just came naturally to me as I learned them. And then, but it was that education about what you can do in college that lined me up with studying music composition. And once I knew that, I thought, well, I'm already in writing music, and now I'm gonna get to learn even more. And that's what the theory class was like, the skeleton key
Mm,
to that. It was like this here is this
yeah,
doorway where you have some of these concepts now. And I went, very comprehensive, I think,
yeah.
with all of the stuff and got really strongly aligned with all the rules of music theory and the understanding of music from that early stage. And I really enjoyed that study and did
Hmm.
quite well in school with that. And I wanted to fuel my own writing and just develop that. And I also then realized that over subsequent years of teaching
Hmm.
that I had really strong skills at the understanding of these musical concepts,
Yeah, yeah.
which hopefully have helped my students, which that's always just another kind of roll of the dice with a range of people. And it's been a great a pleasure to have taught over these like 30 years or so.
Yeah, it's a long time. I love the concept or the visual of the skeleton key. And I think you've mentioned that before to me,
Oh
but
yeah,
that skeleton key is kind of that thing that unlocked stuff for you. And
sure.
when I started learning guitar from you several years ago, that was one of the things that you really brought up was theory, and you had me take theory classes. And it didn't come as easy to me, which things usually do come easy to me. And it's difficult, especially as, an older person, but how has it served you? It clearly is serving you, and you're really a proponent for
Yeah.
learning it.
Well, it, yeah, I was going to say that I do think it's a challenge with music theory. And I, for me, what I think of it is that it's you, it's the connection. I mean, there's different ways to go. My version of it is the writing.
Mm.
So it's, I've heard other folks talk about this, other musicians, that when you're writing something, it's like you can't really execute it, but it's like you learn through your writing, and then you now are now changed,
Hmm.
and you discover something that brings new information, and now you've expanded your sphere.
Yes.
And
Love
but
that.
but like anything, if you take it too far beyond, if you take it too far beyond your own sphere, it can only go so far. And naturally, it's like lifting too much weight. You have
Ah.
to,
Mm.
you, there's a limit to what you can do. And so it just becomes nebulous and confusing
Oh,
that
yeah.
it needs to connect to,
You have to work up to it.
yeah, yeah, it has to connect through it, you can't just go way beyond. You have to go in those incremental steps. So that's the challenge for students. But let's say there's somebody else who is really interested in music analysis
Hmm. Hmm.
and isn't as fixated on the writing of music, maybe. And that, I mean, surely there are great composers who work or are conductors. And so that's a powerful thing. Those things intersect. Another way to look at it might be like a conductor isn't concerned in the moment of conducting or studying with the writing, but they have to know the analysis of the music, have to
Mm-hmm.
understand everything about it more than all of the whole orchestra or whatever performers they are conducting. So that would be a different, as an aside to what I'm saying,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have that. Somebody might come at it with great passion that way. And yeah, it's a mix of that. It's yeah.
I think through the learning theory, which you pushed open the door for me, and it helped me see what an incredibly vast language and complicated language music is, and
Yeah.
how, me personally, having studied anthropology and I had an interest in all phases, including linguistics. To me, it is music is that universal language that everyone can speak, but it's been developed over millennia of layers and different forms, and it's very complicated.
It is, yeah, I would say so. It's very complicated. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't like that word at all so much,
What would you
but I
use?
think I don't know if ephemeral is the right word to describe, but because music is so malleable,
Yeah.
and language, spoken language is as well, which
Mhm.
I find myself playing around with language. And I've had collaborations with people in bands. I have a strong collaboration
Mm.
with a friend here, a musician, and we would just riff off of each other, both musically and verbally. Those things can just be very clear, communicated in English jokes that become ratchet up the way that, comedians might do with each other.
Yeah, yeah.
Or it could turn absurd and become nonsense and yet carries the meaning, some form of meaning through that exchange.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and and also music, so if I can take an idea and I'm predisposed, or I'm taking it and I'm unfolding it, I can take something really simple and expand it, and you develop it out. You learn to do that. Every people take it to whatever degree they feel. I take things pretty far out into expansion.
Yeah.
I'm compelled to do that. I probably overdo it, but it's
It's the that's that play piece too. You always talk about how important play is in that and remembering. I think as creatives, especially in professional realms, where I've ended up, is we often have to be reminded or sometimes bring in professionals or take workshops on how to lead our teams creatively and open up their childlike minds again, right? Because they get so serious. And this to me is a place that you've always had a real strong stance towards keeping play and being able to play with things as part of your work
yeah, like I was
process.
saying, it's you expand things out like that, and it's coming back to what I was saying there. It's music can move, you can turn something upside down, backwards, and you can do that with words to some degree.
Mm.
And that's like I say, I often find when I wake up in the morning, I words will just pop through. I did morning pages, which is a great creative exercise. I forget the name of the writer.
The Artist Way, Julia Cameron.
That's
Yep.
her.
Yep.
And it's an amazing book, and that exercise is phenomenal. And I just find once I did that, I just found like things would just, I'd wake up and it would just come through.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying that things move around so much with music, and you find that just, if you do it enough, then that's just how my mind works. So
Mm.
I know a lot of people are like that too. So it's just, but I'm saying, yeah, like I'm
It's your
so
process.
wired up because of doing so much variation on themes with musical ideas and figuring out what you can pull from an idea. And it's just it becomes so vast. And it's actually surprising to me that, and anyway, it takes me to the idea that one of the joys of writing music is how it changes you, and
Mm.
how it's it's funny how deceptive it is that you come in and like, I'm going to write this piece of music, but it's a partnership with the ideas. So
Mm.
it it's so much better, because if it what you think it's going to be, even if you start with existing material, that's cool. But it's like when you then get these ideas, and it depends on how deeply people work. Everybody works different. I tend to dive in and really refine things, and then would deconstruct, and then I go
Hmm.
at it and I get a ton of stuff, too much really, but I think once I get something, I'm really amazed by it, and I don't feel like it's just me.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go to the cliche of, you know,
Yeah.
it's this other power. Yeah. And it's just, I'm not concerned with that. I just think
Yeah.
I really enjoy reaching into that, and then being changed by it. The music itself is, that's collaboration also gets into that, and that it's just so fun.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
such it's so rewarding, and you can really get on a serious wavelength with your collaborators.
Yeah.
And I share the example that if you're in a dialogue creatively with somebody, and you're both or multiple people working with an idea, I've had this situation, where you just, somebody goes, "Oh, wait, I just got an idea. Oh, wait, no." And you're sitting there, and then they say, "Oh, never mind." But just something about them saying, "Oh, wait," just totally unlocked something in you. And then you're like, "Oh," and it's like, it's just. it's I don't even know how to describe
It's
that.
like
Like
it's
it didn't
catching.
actually say anything, but it kind of woke you up
Yeah.
in that moment. You're sitting there both working. It's just a fascinating thing. And
Mm.
but I it's creativity. I think suddenly I'm thinking of science and I loved hearing it. Forever I didn't ever think of science as creative, but then
Mm.
I've heard scientists talk and say that's what it is. It's like a
It's creation.
curiosity and it's
Yeah.
creativity, but you just think
Yeah.
it's a scientific
Yeah.
method. And so that's just so empirical or whatever. And it's just straight up, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really creative and
Yeah.
there's a new appreciation because it's what we're doing, you
Well, it's
know.
like the scientist is the one studying the creation that's being made, trying to understand the process or the fact that because science itself is just creation, right? It's just
If you follow the rules of science, you won't you have to use those to break beyond. And I'm not
mm,
really a scientist, but it's also that way with music. If you follow something like music theory strictly, you're just going to create what was. To
yeah,
some degree, you might have things in it that are new, but that's a major point about it. But
yeah,
you have to know those tools, just like in science. I mean, you have in order for it to line up. And so I find that's what it seems like to me has to happen when I write something. It needs to do something that I haven't heard or that I haven't created. Maybe it's out there created by someone
mm,
else, but
right,
find that something, if it doesn't do that, I just don't have that passion with it. And that's one of the things too with create collaboration is
mm-hmm.
somebody will you have to trust. I've had that where someone's like, oh, we should do this and this, and then the music will, and I'm kind of sitting there like I don't and you're just trusting, and that's
Yeah,
a big part of it too.
right,
You can't see somebody else's vision and then it gets put forth. Some of those are the best parts of albums I've created are what I was just unsure
yeah,
somebody else that I'm collaborating with had the idea of, and then they brought it forth and really realized it, and it's great because that's like writing a song. It's the stuff that you didn't expect
yeah.
that makes a whole nother level of meaning to it or depth to it. So
Yeah. And when that happens, it's like this electricity that it just kind of takes on its own life.
yeah,
I think we've talked about this before, and I love hearing you articulate it because what you're talking about too is the piece that all of the reason I do what I do here with all of these creative conversations is going deep into that place, which is the well. We talk about that in martial arts is the same thing. You kind of open yourself up and you let things come through you. You become a channel and a filter and an expression of an energy that is beyond you, but it is coming through you, so it's different. It's your expression. And so tagging into the well, and same thing, I brought that to my design career, which I think is what made things so successful, was tapping into that deep energy because it comes through what you create in a way that is not tangible, that people feel, but they don't know why they feel it, right? We talk about this all the time.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's what makes people resonate, right? Like it makes you get excited about those certain pieces of work that come up that whether they're collaborating with somebody else or coming through yourself. And I've seen it in you when you create something and you're like, this is amazing. That feeling that we all get when we're super excited about something that has just developed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And that's like I think of the sphere. It's almost like I envision that you have. It's like you're inside of a sphere, but in that space, in your space, you become complacent. So, I might be I might be teaching somebody and then you play a little and then they're just like, whoa, you can really play. And you almost kind of go, oh yeah. Like you have to wake yourself up. Like you're inside
Mm.
What, so that's the challenge.
Mm.
I think that's universal in life too.
I don't
But
know if
it's,
you could articulate, not everybody articulates that though.
yeah. So it's like it's the idea that it's actually, the metaphor of a sphere is limited because it's like being in your subconscious where
Yeah.
like the
In
movie
your
Being
head.
John Malkovich or something where you're just like in these, different realms of your own reality.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like you're finding a way out. And it takes
Mm.
work, no matter how skilled and experienced you are. You're messing around with ideas, but then you find the edge of your sphere and like a little hatch. And then you're getting into
That's
that
cool.
unknown, or you're like pulling back the veil to the other side of something. But I end up starting to think of David Lynch or something like that. I love, but as an artist, but it's that, and then you have more, and honestly feel like those moments of creative realization take the pressure that is pretty great that some
Mm.
of us have on ourselves, and feel a sense of identity that
Mm.
is hugely, it's just you're just wired that way, like you just hopelessly,
Yeah.
or whatever, you know, to compelled to eh, to feel that again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when, yeah, you can be far away. We all know we're not, but it's you, but when you return and you come home to that feeling of, but you have to go out into this unknown to be able to return. You have to
Mm.
go to come back.
That's beautiful.
Which
There's
I
a,
forget who said that, but I'm sure anyway. But I've
but
heard that. Yeah. Anyway,
well, what's the fight that defines your creative life now? Because we talked about these earlier ones. Yeah, I'll let you take that question as you like.
what's the fight
That
that
defines your,
what, what am I struggling with? What right now? Well, I've just gotten back to playing on stage, being in bands, working with other creatives in these projects. And
and that's from COVID. I mean, COVID was a big one for a lot
that's,
of people.
yeah. And we all had to try to make the best out of a situation. Everybody was somewhere, everybody was in their own place.
Yeah.
So I see the things that I gained from that, but it's tough. Yeah, I think right now, what is now? Is it 5 years, 2 minutes?
5 minutes. Right.
And that's legitimately, what
Yeah.
is increment of time? But anyway, I think, when you are partnered up, saddled with people in a project, and you're dealing with what everybody wants to get out of it and what they can contribute at that time.
Mm.
And it requires a tremendous amount of patience, I would say.
Hmm.
And you just you work your way through it. But it could be, it's a range, I think it's tough to say without being too specific what
You,
the
yeah.
fight is. It's,
Yeah.
we're all fighting to earn a living and survive, and doing the art in, as it were, here.
They're getting older too for all of us.
That's
I
right.
mean, everybody, no matter what age, we're all getting older, but
Sure.
but we
Sure.
are in a situation where a lot of the music that we as Gen X were defined by, it's kind of, there's also the industry and how it's kind of run its course, but then we're all in this midlife and some people are older too and are still playing. And that's not something that everybody expected to happen, you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah, the pandemic changed a lot with that. I think one of the things that happened for me in the pandemic was that I really developed more of my composing. I was scoring some short films and some other projects.
Yeah.
I was scoring for Struktur, and so
Yeah.
we have a few pieces of music there.
Yeah.
And it was amazing, and it was daunting. It I think I just, the I cracked open that nut, and or the Pandora's box, like getting into that kind of writing, composing. It's like you have to maintain a level of naivete to just
Mm,
even do it. Once
mm,
I think today too, with this proliferation of information on all of our screens, all of our devices, it can make us feel like we're experts just watching a few videos. It's just,
mhm.
but it can also make us overwhelmed very easily.
Yeah.
And other people's work is right in our face. That's good and bad, like listening to a fully produced piece of music and then going, I need to make something sound as finished as that. Is You're hearing something like, that's why I say when I
Yeah.
look at what I wrote from when I set out to do it, from when I finished just a demo of this is what is the proposed final, the first phase of sharing it with other band members or something like that, or your client if you're a composer or what have you. you're it's gone through so much processing in a good way, to get those ideas. And it's just a journey, and
Yeah.
things write themselves and out of the blue, but really it's all that it doesn't just do that. I think, I don't know, maybe if I it depends on how diligently you work in consistencies. You
Hmm.
might have to, I mean, I take breaks from writing, especially performing.
Right.
So I go into a phase, but then like getting the wheels to hit the pavement to really go, I'm like really struggling to
Mm.
get out of this fear, find that hatch, and then, here, go through here.
Yeah.
And then, but with working on the new record I'm working on with Vastum right now, with the band I'm playing with, it just then I'm just once I'm then I, the vehicle is going, but it
Oh.
takes the time, the commitment to do it. It's incredibly rewarding, and but it can be grueling. I mean,
Hmm. Hmm.
working at the computer for many hours at a time, and it's I don't know, age kicks in too with all of this stuff where you're just
Yeah.
standing there and you just, I need a break or whatever, but like
Right.
sometimes you just are going, it just goes and goes. But
Yeah. It's a lot of work. I mean, we already talked about the diving in deep and how much work that is to come up and, what I say is birth new ideas or create new things. But
to me, it's go ahead.
oh no, go ahead.
I was just going to say that it's that finding the traction is tough. That's that tough spot where you really doubting yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am, and I'm struggling so much that you're like going into your studio and feeling like kind of crazy. Like I've
Hmm.
said that to a few people, like you're just like, I don't, and I'm coming up with stuff. It's just it's not materializing into like a song, but
Right.
then it does. But that might take me 2 weeks. I don't know. What's the time?
Yeah.
What does it matter? But it's it's definitely hours of work, not feeling it and thinking you're kind of losing your mind. Like it feels
Yeah.
a little crazy making, but then you're healed by the creation.
I think that's what I hear a lot of artists, painters, designers, all of us talk about is that you do start to kind of when you're trying to generate lots of ideas that are you're needing to do for something, it can feel very crazy making and you do get lost in it, right? And you see, I mean, we see films about art painters and different people going through that. And that's what I think is fascinating about the artists. As artists, these are the places we have to go into. We talk about this, the depths you have to go venture into and disappear into. um, and even with myself now, even writing and posting in blogs and content of story and sharing, it's like every day is this up and down of, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm sucked out. I got to create some more stuff. And like, is it responding? People responding to it? I don't know. I have to shut things off. It's this whole dance that we go through in our own heads
Mhm.
of a struggle.
Absolutely.
Um, and as much as people say, I mean, that's what the fight is. But that's the fight, is what's the struggle to create something. And then when it finally comes together, it's like, thank God.
Yeah.
There's a lot of relief, right?
Yeah. You
So,
can, for me, I can kind of tell when I'm starting, like when using I'm on Logic Pro, and when I start making like keystroke mistakes, and then I'm starting to curse at, and I'm really starting to berate the screen or whatever. I'm like, then I might then go on for 4 more hours, or whatever it may be, or I
mm.
might say I need to take a break, or just stop for the day. It depends on where I'm at with what needs to get done. But yeah.
That's why they say like just creativity just can't have so much boundary. It needs to have some space to move around. I mean, I'm curious, like what's what's a ritual or something that you do that keeps you connected and balanced, and something that you keep returning to no matter where you are. But yeah, what are the things that you do to keep yourself connected and on track,
Well,
centered?
the immediate one is something I was curious about for a long time and learned about during the pandemic, studied. I mean, took the initiation into a meditation practice.
Mm.
So, and I think of ritual, that's, just that routine I found really beneficial. So I'm sticking to it, and it's really grounding. And when yeah, whatever you're going through, it's there for you.
Mm.
That is space around like your thoughts. So not to go too far into that, I just it that was really special to me, to learn how you can expand space. You can give yourself some more room around what's going on up here. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
you do that. I mean, I've been very impressed at once you decided to do it. It's been what, 5, 6 years now?
Yeah.
And you meditate twice a day, every day.
Yeah, it's a practice. So I think one of the great things about that, I think you start out and you really are like efforting, to use the parlance of our times, you know, and you can kind of give yourself a headache. It's not, you can kind of overdo things like that with like a mantra or what have you. But the practice of it is just like you're just gonna come back and you're like, I mean, there's just a whole thing to it. But yeah, it's just, if I'm not really trying to seriously approach the technique that I've learned, it's still meditation. And
Mm.
if I'm just with my thoughts, it's awesome. I mean, if you don't meditate, you are in these zones at times, at the edge of sleep. In the shower, I've heard musicians are already really tapped into that way,
Yeah.
that mode, because you have to let go of the effort to do something and allow it to come through,
Yeah.
whether it's meditation or on an instrument, many other things perhaps, but yeah.
I think the thing that I was really impressed by too is how quickly and easily you were ready for it, but how easily it's slotted into your life as a regular practice. Like it wasn't over, like you just were able to do it regularly and easily. Like I just said that twice, but that it, that it's not a struggle to add it into your process. And I mean, I have to share it here, just that, you know, when it's time for you to meditate in the late afternoon or early evening, you do that wherever you are. I mean, even when we were walking the NAM trade show and it was time to meditate, and you found a chair right in the middle of everything going on, but that you would be, left alone where everybody else is just sitting and doing things they need to do. And you would sit and meditate right there in the middle of a trade show. And it feels very natural and normal. And I think it's a great example of how you can build something important into your process
Mhm.
and have it serve you and work for you without it being a struggle.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, it's something you do twice a day. It's part of your routine. And, there's certainly times where you're in a different headspace, but it does affect you. Then, your nervous system, it's incredibly
mm-hmm.
beneficial, I would say. And
Mm-hmm.
I notice if I miss it. I've,
Mm-hmm.
I've been too busy and had to skip some sessions or cut them short.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell. I think early on when I started doing it, I walked down to pick up some carry out and I'm waiting outside after maybe a couple weeks of meditation. I mean, not meditating for 2 weeks, but like my routine. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
and I just like was looking out at the street and I just felt this like kind of like sag that
Mm-hmm.
was so relaxing, like this vigilance sag, like just being out in a city that I was like, I like, whoa, that was amazing. I just kind of just sort of relaxed in a way that I hadn't been able to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't consider myself an extremely anxious person, but I do have anxiety like anybody. I definitely do. And, you know, it's there and it's there for everybody,
Yeah.
especially today, in this
Yeah.
world. I think in
Mm-hmm.
all times, really. But yeah. Anyway, that's one of the rituals, right?
Yeah.
I actually I kind of feel like I don't know, is not having a ritual? Like that could very well be like a lot of I the ritual of instinct and intuition, just
Mhm.
allowing things to just go. I think I do that a lot, for better or worse, but
Yeah. I
you
think
know.
there's something in there. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, when I know I need to do something, I'll work on it, but I'm not gonna say stay on a regimen
Mm.
of studying something on guitar to just have like I don't know. It ebbs and flows, but I've done a ton of ritual in the past, so it changes too. So, but there are things that are there no
Yeah.
matter where I am. But yeah,
Mm. Love that concept of the no ritual because
I would
that's very
yeah.
Zen. That's a very, you know,
I mean, it's really just part and parcel to the idea of learning an instrument. I've studied piano
mm,
heavily over self-directed in the pandemic. And I think it's really humbling because I've been playing guitar for so long and also learning an instrument at a different age than being like a
hmm
teenager. I find myself wanting to get creative on the piano and but I started my ritual, my process of learning the piano was very regimented, like what is it, master the fundamentals, is a
mm,
major thing to consider. And so I really went at, a more, I don't know, is that just a kind of more less creative and more strict? Is it more adult or I don't know, like very young person and do very regimented stuff and have a ball. love it. But
Yeah, yeah,
it just, I use that regimen on piano to keep the piano because I'm limited how much I can play, but
uh,
it's been really fun to learn a range of stuff that I have, whether it's, getting into the music theory there, but the techniques of playing and the pieces of music that might be like romantic era classical to
yeah,
like something more modern, like themes from films and stuff to just get that into my chops as a musician, as a composer.
yeah, yeah,
But I can speak to that ritual because the guitar kind of just, it does its own, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I think through having, I've just, it's been there and I can
yeah,
kind of vacillate between serious ritual work for something to prepare to
yeah.
free form to just letting it rip, and just
Hmm,
writing or
hmm.
just ripping through stuff.
Wow,
But
yeah.
yeah,
I love that like because when we talk about these types of things, I always find that correlation in training martial arts too, which martial arts is very regimented because you have to do the same thing, but also because of the art, the Indonesian art that I do, there's a lot of free form. And there's so much of having to just let go of things to let the free form come through, like dancing, to let your own movement come through. And I see the same thing like when you play music. And my frustration of not having enough chops in an instrument in music to be able to move like I do in martial arts, but I get it when I see you
yeah.
move in playing.
It's
You
like you're tapping, it's a subtle energy. That's what like being sensitive and subtle energies have tremendous power. And it's in there. I just even probably yesterday when I was writing something, or I didn't know I was writing something,
know?
right? Because I'm just kind of ripping through some things. And it's just when there's this like space between completely letting go and doing something that the
Mhm.
subtler kind of feel, and there's something in, I hear something.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
and then you might find, oh, that needs to be slightly sloppy or kind of just half-ass. And if you do it too tight, it doesn't sound right. But
Yeah.
even that aside, just that I just went blah, 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 ooh, and it's just like, and then there's a new thing.
Yeah.
And so that's what I love because it's so much creativity comes from not
Yeah.
intending to be creative. And that's
And
like play too, that's in there that because that is, but sometimes it's just kind of letting off of the lever and then something is just like blooms out.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's a beautiful
It
dance.
it feels like magic, but that's what it is.
And I would say that too. And I was going to bring it up earlier, just like I was saying science is creative and in martial arts, you have the theories, you have the regiment, the ritual to follow,
Yeah.
but you don't get anywhere if you just follow that.
Right.
It's a combination. And I say too that if you don't know theory, going back to music, but it could be anything, you you can get happy accidents, but if you have to know those deeper concepts, you have to travel down into them
Yeah.
to get those accidents to come through and know that they're there because you
Yeah.
can make some accidents musically in this case that you won't know where to steer. It's just like it just that happens, like
Yeah.
that it's so you you have to use what's come before. That's the progression of humanity, and the theory is what's come before, but then you can pull off of it's kind of what's going on,
It's
I
the
think.
foundation, right?
And
It,
sometimes you throw it all out, but
yeah.
sometimes it just accidentally comes through. So that's the other idea of like learn it all and then forget it all. And it's in
Hmm.
there in your subconscious.
Right.
It brings me back to meditation. It's like trusting what's in there. It just comes through.
Yep.
You can get great ideas from just a stillness, from
Yep.
just letting go. It
Yeah. Yeah.
comes through.
My mom talks about that in painting a lot as well, because it's like, well, you can't go and do all these crazy impressionistic and Picasso style, create a new style until you've mastered the fundamentals and you're able to, know how to paint with perspective. Um,
Right.
you
Yeah.
can, like you said, you can have happy accidents, but you've got to have the foundation and the scaffolding to build on. And if you
Yeah.
don't have that, then when you're trying to do something new, it falls flat, it falls and crumbles because it doesn't have a foundation to support
Right.
it. Right.
Yeah. You can get better accidents and you can recognize them. And
Right.
you know, depending on, say, the kind of music you're making, you could hear things with an uninitiated ear and go, that just sounds dissonant. It's awful.
Yeah.
But if you know, you could have a depth where you understand that level of dissonance and do something with it. And
Mm,
hopefully your audience can, if they get something too, if you take it to them. So
yeah. Do you feel like, because my question about I wanted to ask about armor, because as artists, we often have an armor up. At least that's something that was really strong with me, of protection, because of the struggle or the judgment and stuff. Do you feel like you have to put on an armor to create or perform? And how do you keep this? It's this kind of way of keeping yourself open to, you know, energy with other people, open to ideas, but also keeping yourself protected enough to survive it. As artists have a way of also losing themselves. Does that make sense? Do you have a kind of
yeah,
a
yeah.
feeling of that?
Well, I might have to just operate on faith. How do I know if I'm keeping myself open enough? I don't ever know. I so I it's potential, and I have to just accept that I'm the one who decides and brings it forth, and it works with me. That's,
Mm.
the interplay of it. And I guess it could go so many places, but I have to operate on faith with that. Even if I might do a good job of taking care of my health. Maybe I eat really well and exercise, but I made a decision to work really diligently on a new album right now. And just a couple months ago, I had to cut back on some of the exercise. But
Mm. Mm.
uh and it's at this age, it's not a great feeling, not
Mm.
necessarily all that awesome to like walk stairs and feel a little different.
Yeah.
And so it's in some ways the space that you have to hold for
Mm-hmm.
that, to go, to know. And so all those things, like, this band can only do this right now, so I have to hold till it can get to that, with the other members needing to do what they have to do.
Yeah.
I need to keep physically fit, just functioning.
Yeah.
But I also need to, I- yeah, but that's why I say, like, am I just kind of crazy coming in here? That's like, I'm wondering if I'm protecting myself. And right, so I'm using
Mm.
your question to
Yeah.
try and answer it without just having like an explicit answer, because
Yeah.
I think I don't, I think we don't know,
Yeah.
you know, and maybe if we do, maybe that's a concern, because
Yeah.
is that a deception?
Yeah.
Now, hopefully I'm not just chopping your question up, but it's my philosophical approach to what your question is.
Well, everybody has a different answer because everybody is doing their creative work for different reasons. And I actually see you as somebody who I don't see, like the way we have to be open to be creative. It can really be hard for some people. In my another guest conversation, there was a whole family history that comes out in kind of an overprotectiveness of that person's work. I don't see that with you. You've spent so much time really being present and open to creating music, to this art. But I think to your point, it's like we're always asking ourselves these questions. Like, am I doing this? Where am I now? What is this going on? It's a constant dance. I don't know if it will ever end and have a specific answer that is the answer, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, there's so many layers to the, let's say, as an analogy, the armor, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Because what am I talking about? Am I I'm talking about creating the art. There's so much more to being an artist than just creating the art. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so, it's a tough one to think of the layers of that. Like,
Yeah.
I think I'm holding the fire, I'm carrying that for that, the core creative thing. And, I think I have plenty to learn in all aspects, but shipping it, bringing it down from on high or wherever it's coming from, deep coming out. Where's that coming to, and how do you? There's a protection, a fight for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and
Well,
do I know if I've even sent myself out on the mission? Maybe I'm overprotected. Maybe I'm hiding, right? Like, so I'm just exploring your question, and I'm reticent to give you a direct answer, perhaps.
it's more about sitting with the question and having that to take away with you too. There's no
Sure.
one answer. Like,
Yeah.
what is it now you talked about keeping the fire alive, the flame alive. What keeps your creative flame alive? I'm really curious about this. And what threatens to blow it out?
Well, I have, I would say it's getting the art out is an aim because like many artists, have droves, volumes on volumes of material. So I'm striving to get more of it out there because it's it's healthy to do that for me. It's super important for me to do that for myself with as much material as I have created, especially over the last 15 years, but even just across the whole spectrum. So, does that answer your entire question? I think I missed a little bit of what.
The other part was what threatens to possibly blow it out, if that's possible.
Yeah, well, I think this time that we have here
Mm,
is a motivator. I think we
right.
don't know how long we have, but we want to feel like we have it all, but it's limited.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe I have to think realistically about what it is I can accomplish, what makes sense for where I'm at in my life, you know,
Yeah.
being the age I am, what makes sense on, you know, so many levels. But I think I really like to have great people around me. I've learned that, but I don't think I ever said, "Hey, I want to have a bunch of shitheads around," or whatever. Pardon my English here. I mean French.
I do think shitheads is English.
Yeah, right. No, but it's the wrong. Anyway, it's
I
absurd.
know. You
Strike
can
it.
swear all you want.
Have that. Strike it. No. Anyway, we're gonna have to edit this.
Well,
We're
now,
gonna
because
have
you
to
said
add.
that.
We're gonna need to add sugar to this one. I'm telling you. But oh no, yeah, we're gonna have to. No, that's right. We have to sweeten these jokes.
How do you
By
do
that I mean add sugar too. Sorry, I'm just
that?
plagiarizing somebody. But
Great people.
what threatens to blow it out? Honestly, you work with people. It's just important to do that. I have to do it. And so I just need commitment from people, avenues to go down. I need to get somewhere. Not, it's the music, the creation, it needs to get somewhere. So what I work on, that's one of the criteria because I've been down other paths and he's just like that. I've done those things and I need to go forward.
Mm-hmm.
But you really have to reflect, and you have to know yourself to whatever degree. You can't fully know yourself in this life, I don't think. But yeah, I guess that somewhat answers it. But
Yeah, yeah. Well, when somebody does experience your work as it gets out, what, because you've had lots of work out and you have lots more work to come out. When someone experiences it, what do you hope they take with them or feel changed by?
honestly, I have to say, I guess, I hope they are just changed by the work. That it speaks to them and in a way they experience me to some extent from the work. I think there's a voice that comes through and it's just there. I don't know. You try to create it, but it just also like the features of your face or whatever. It's like just is. I can't really be specific about what they were going to experience because I can say that I can write really epic stuff, but I don't want I'll write anything, I'd just be whatever, I'm just going to be stuff that can't be articulated
Mm-hmm.
because, but yeah, I mean, because, you just create different feelings and it isn't just feelings, but music moves you. I want people to be moved
Yeah.
and it's just, but it's like, you create this thing and it's out there in the world and you want it to speak for itself. It does its
Yeah.
thing and you have to let it go.
Hmm.
So you do everything you can to before that time. And there are these little beings out there, these little little things there, big or little, whatever, they're out there.
It's like it's beautiful because what you're doing is creating space for people to have their own interaction and relationship with the work. Like when you create this beautiful work that comes from you, that come through you and from other processes, that it's allowing that to have its own life and people to interact with it in their own way,
Yeah,
which is kind of what we're doing when we're creating something that we create through us and for us and from us, and then it goes out into the world, and then you have to let it go and let it have its own life.
yeah,
And that creating that space for other people to then grab it and be affected by it in
yeah.
whatever way they need to be.
Right, right. That's why I really can't say what I expect somebody or hope they
Mm.
would experience.
That's
I,
beautiful in and of itself.
I could, I could say this or that, but it's not really going to get at what you're asking. I can tell that, honestly. It's just going to mince it out, and it's not really what I would want to say about that.
No,
And in a way, maybe I like that blue rose aspect. It's just a
yeah,
mystery. And just like it's out there, and I don't know how someone's going to take it, but it's imbued with what I put into it, so it's there. And whoever I'm collaborating with as well.
yeah.
Or it's just me, whatever. It's out there. Yeah.
I love that. I love that aspect of also not trying to control, you know, the process, the end result, what something's going to be. I love that. Mm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How about if we more like wrap up with something about the current state of music and how things are changing and going forward, what you see in general and for yourself?
Yeah, with that, I'm really it's a question of what you're focused on. And there's so many places to put your attention. And that's one of those things going back to the earlier question of that I becomes what time do you have to do what
Mm.
to do? And you got to break off a chunk to do something, you know? So yeah, it kind of to me goes just for the time and place right now. I kind of just have to not, I mean, it might just be how I've always operated, but I'm not concerned with any of that because that's never going to stop me from doing what I already do. So,
I think it's that way for a lot of people. I mean, for all of us, it because it's this mushy, nebulous thing. I think the focus of the conversation that we just had and the ones that I will always have on this podcast are about that creative process, the human creative process, and the challenges that we face. And I don't think those change. I don't think they ever really have. I think they're really fundamental to diving into who we are as humans.
yeah.
And for me personally, during this time of AI and all this technology, there's a real strong pull, as there always is with new technology, back into things that are really, really heavily human based.
Uh,
And like
yeah.
you and I saw, like we've seen at shows, like a whole new young crowd of people coming to live shows, experiencing music in very human physical forms, that
Hmm.
we need that connection. And that is a place that music is this magical place.
Yeah.
So personally, I kind of think people doing what you do to really entrench in that and keep that piece alive at a time that we need to really remember what keeps us human.
Yeah. It's like breathing, you use just to be
Mm,
kind of cliche, but that I would, yeah, it just depends on what's going on at the time. And the FOMO thing, like, oh, you got to do this thing because otherwise, it's you're gonna get left behind.
mm,
And
mhm.
yeah, I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's kind of probably always operated that way. But that's why, yeah, and the music, the art is there always. That's why it's just what we've done is it's part of what we do.
Yeah.
So yeah, going back to just balancing out, like, I've not been able to do as much of the composing side as per se because I wanted to get back on stage and put out some albums. And it's a strong place for me, and I have to honor that. So I intend to get back into composing more heavily. And it just doesn't feel like all those things can coexist in this moment.
Hmm. Hmm.
And AI aspects of working with advanced technology, it may come forward, but I have to kind of keep at bay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we haven't really even talked about that. So, but because you're going hardcore into that, and
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
I'm picking up some of the things that you're learning, and it's fascinating what you've been able to accomplish
Mm.
with what the way you're leveraging what you're using that for. And it's rubbed off on me to some degree, but in that rigorously implementing it into what I do, I see that down the road, and it'll be interesting to see how to get at it because it feels, yeah, it's just the aspect of focusing my attention where it's headed right now.
I love hearing that too, because we do so much talk about, I mean, in the world where I'm kind of digging into AI and saying, oh, people need to learn this, we need to know it, we need to have some exposure to it, but it's still in development phase.
Mhm.
And for me, it's the tools I've learned are things that have helped me do the other thing I'm trying to do, which is, write and help do things to help lead other creatives and share people's stories. Until you find a way that AI or some sort of new technology is a tool to help you move faster or better in a new way, it's not necessary. And I think on some of these arts, it's kind of like looking at my mother as a painter. She doesn't need to work with AI to help her paint and teach her classes, but there are ways that that tool already comes into some of the platforms she uses. But
Right.
there's
So, yeah.
right.
Well,
Hmm.
because it's like I can get ideas and I've shared them with some people that could, be the furthering of some of this, but some of the development of AI. But just being the kind of grunt to do that work, it would take away.
Yeah.
And
Hmm. Hmm.
and maybe I'm fooling myself and that I'm missing that. But it feels to me like I just don't have the capacity to go into it like that. And I'm going to rely on the rest of humanity making it easy,
Right.
to, and
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
you see where I'm at, I guess.
Yeah. I love it. I love it because of my job as, connecting creatives is understanding all of our creative process and making sense of it. And I definitely I see these human artistic creative processes that have been going on for centuries. They're really important. And to me,
Yeah,
music is one of those really deeply important things for people to stay connected to.
absolutely. It's evolving, but it's there's a thread back through the ages.
Yeah. So, yeah, what's some last words or thoughts for now or for the future?
For me or for
Yeah, some last words, wide open. And they can be words for, other people coming up or, right now it's unfocused. I don't have a question there. It's just any last thoughts about,
I don't know. Honestly, I think learn about yourself and trust your own intuition because there's a lot more there. Tap into the subtleties, the subtle energy, the sensitivity that you possess because we all have it, and you'll find strength and
mm,
power in that to share with the rest of the world. Pretty much it, I guess.
that's beautiful. This episode has been brought to you by Struktur Society, a multimedia publishing and community platform tracking and translating how creativity, business, and technology shape culture in the age of AI across design, art, and music. Through writing, podcasting, and live events, we share insights, prompts, and practices for modern creative leadership. Search Struktur Society on Substack.